Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning for those of you on the West Coast. My name is Mark Koenig. I'm with Sage, and today I'm going to be taking you through a short presentation illustrating how Sage 50 beats the competition and why you might consider switching from your current accounting software product over to Sage 50. We believe that Sage 50 beats its competition in value, performance, and functionality, and I'm going to show you several reasons why we think that's the case in this presentation today. Here at Sage, one of our most frequent sources of referrals for Sage 50 is CPA firms. And while I'm sure that most of you are not CPAs, that doesn't necessarily mean, of course, that you should keep your business books using the same method as you would your personal accounts, which unfortunately is exactly what many competitive small business accounting software products do. Double entry accounting, which is what Sage 50 uses, is more accurate than other methods. It's considered the gold standard, so to speak, by CPAs, and it is according to generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP, G-A-A-P for short. You may have heard that terminology before, particularly from your CPA. Sage 50 follows generally accepted accounting principles much more closely than any other entry-level, integrated, small business accounting software program out there. And so, with that said, let me switch over now to the main screen in Sage 50, which is what you see here. Let me start out by saying that we've designed Sage 50 to be very easy to use and easy to learn, and as such, the interface is very straightforward. And as you can see here, the program is designed so that it's very intuitive. If you look along the left-hand side of the screen here, we have what we call the navigation panel, which is composed of these various tabs, each of which represent a functional area of the accounting software. Now, if you were to purchase what's usually called an enterprise-level accounting system or an ERP-level system, some people call it, those systems, which are generally intended for much larger companies or organizations, are generally sold in the form of modules. In other words, you would buy a separate module for accounts receivable, accounts payable, inventory, payroll, job costing, and so forth. That is the nature of a modular system. Now, with an integrated system such as Sage 50, all of those functions are built into the one piece of software, and that's what you see here. There are no separate modules to purchase, and each of these different functional areas is represented, as I say, by a tab on this navigation panel on the left-hand side of the screen. So it's very easy to move from one to another just by clicking on the appropriate tab. As I do this, you'll also notice that the right-hand side of the screen changes from one section of the program to another. However, the screen changes within the same basic format, and that is by design. Again, in keeping with the goal of making the product easy to use and easy to learn and very easy to get up to speed with quickly, we've designed the program so that each section is very similar. It mirrors one another and follows the same basic principles. You will notice, for example, I've just clicked on the Customers and Sales tab here. If we move just a little bit to the right, you see that we have this navigation area that looks like a flowchart diagram, which is made up of these boxes, some of which are connected by lines. And when you click on the boxes, you're presented with a series of menu choices, each of which will take you to a specific screen in the program, which in this case is the sales invoice screen. The lines in between the boxes simply represent the relationship between the different functions shown on the diagram. However, that does not in any way mean that you have to use every function that is shown on the screen here. There are many companies or organizations, for example, that do not use time and expense tickets or may not use quotes, proposals, or even sales orders. That's perfectly okay. You can click on whatever it is that you do need and go directly there without a problem. The diagram is really just a visual representation for you as to how the various functions are interrelated within the system. And this navigation interface is common to every section of the program. So again, if I click on these different tabs, you'll notice that from one section to another, the configuration of this navigation diagram changes slightly, but the basic idea remains exactly the same. So that's how you get around in Sage 50 and move from one area to another. Now, to the right of this navigation area, you have a list area over here on the right-hand side of the screen. And since we happen to be in the customers and sales area of the program right now, this is a list of customers. However, if we were in, let's say, the payroll area, this would be a list of employees. If we were in inventory, it would be a list of inventory items, and so forth. But regardless of where we are, the list itself is dynamic in the sense that you can click on any of these column headings, much like an Excel spreadsheet, and sort that list in either ascending or descending order by that particular column heading. And so what I did just now by clicking on the balance column here was to sort my list of customers from high to low in order of their outstanding balance. This is the amount of money that they owe me as of this date. And I can also click on any individual customer in the list, which will take me to the data entry screen for that particular customer record, which is exactly what you see here. Now, this is another good example of the consistency and the ease of use that we've built into the Sage 50 product, because whether you're looking at a customer record, a vendor record, an inventory item, an employee record, any type of record in Sage 50 follows the same basic format that you see here on the screen, which is that in the upper left-hand corner, you have this ID field, which can be up to 20 alphanumeric characters in length, and that field identifies that particular record in the system. Below that, you have another field labeled either name or description, which can be up to 39 characters in length. And then underneath that, you have a series of tabs, each of which contain a group of information related to that particular record type. So since we're talking about a customer record in this particular example, on the General tab, you have information such as this customer's billing address, their telephone numbers, fax number, email address, website address if they happen to have a website, what their current balance is as of today's date. And you also have a listing here at the bottom of the screen of 5 fields that we call customizable fields, which are really just fields that you can label any way that you choose and use on reports and forms. The other tabs, as you click on them, you'll see they contain additional information. On the Contacts tab, you can enter, for example, multiple contacts under one customer ID if you have multiple individuals that you deal with at a certain organization. You also have a History tab, which will give you an overview of the last 12 months of activity with this particular customer. Sales Info tab, where you can set various options, such as the particular general ledger account you want to use, a sales rep that's been assigned to this particular account, and you have a Payment and Credit tab where you can indicate the credit terms that you're extending to this customer. And as I say, this format is consistent throughout the Sage 50 program, whether you're looking at a customer record, a vendor record, an employee record, a job record, or anything else. So if you understand how this is set up, you understand how any record in the Sage 50 system operates. Now, I've come back to the main screen here for a moment. One of the competitive advantages that Sage 50 includes is a comprehensive audit trail, as well as something that we call the Sage 50 Internal Accounting Review Report. And I'm going to pull up that report now just to give you an idea of how that works. Under the main reporting menu item at the top of the screen, if we select Internal Accounting Review, you'll see this report here, which actually helps you to identify common transaction mistakes and actually goes through 15 different areas of your data and looks for conditions that may not adhere to generally accepted accounting principles. So this is actually, as you can see as I scroll down here, is red flagging certain transactions and bringing them to your attention. Now, this is not necessarily indicating that these are errors. What it's saying is that something is out of the ordinary here as compared with generally accepted accounting principles. And so you probably want to take another look at these individual transactions and just make sure that that's what you intended to do, because it's not the most common course of events for whatever reason. And you can see, depending on what it's red flagging here, that, for example, receipts or money received that does not debit a cash account. That's not something that's typically done. Now, there are reasons why you may do that, and in that case, it's perfectly fine. But what this is designed to do is to help you identify common mistakes and, any errors or potential fraud that may be occurring. Obviously, you're going to want to minimize or eliminate. So particularly when you're operating a small business, we know you can't afford, any business can't afford to lose money because of accounting errors or fraud, but certainly when you're operating with a limited staff and resources, you've got to be extremely vigilant about these sorts of things. And Sage 50 is really the only product, small business accounting software product, that offers you anything like this. You're not going to see this in any of the competitive products that are out there in this price range. So that's one advantage. The other report that I mentioned is the Audit Trail report, and that is something that is also very useful and is not typically included in a small business accounting software product, certainly not in this price range. If I pull up this particular audit trail, you'll see here that the system is tracking every time a user logs into the system. And now you're seeing my name here under username because I'm the person using this particular product for demonstration purposes, and I'm the user that's set up, and that's how I'm logging in. However, you're, of course, going to, depending on the number of users that you set up in Sage 50, you'll have different usernames and passwords, and when those individuals log into the system, that's going to be noted here on this report, which is, by the way, only visible by the person that has administrative privileges in the system. And you can see it tracks everything that's done, the date and time that it was done, what screen was accessed, if a transaction was entered or altered. You can double-click to pull up that transaction screen and see the detail. And it's a very useful tool to identify not just necessarily mistakes. Not just what I meant to say is not necessarily intentional distortions of your accounting data, but oftentimes there may be mistakes that are being made just because someone doesn't understand exactly how the process should operate, and they may not even be aware of it themselves that this is happening, and it's very difficult if you have more than one user, to know why you're constantly having, for example, strange balances in a particular general ledger account that doesn't seem to follow any rhyme or reason. Well, with this report, you can go in and say, oh, okay, well, this is when that balance changed, and it looks like Mark logged in right before that happened, and this is what he did. Okay, that makes sense. That's what's happening. So it's a good troubleshooting tool as well. Coming back to the main screen, with our extensive screen level security system, which is tied in with that audit trail report that I just showed you, you have the ability to specify exactly which users can access particular functions in the program. And if I go to that area where you set up the security, again, this is something that distinguishes Sage 50 from our competitors in the marketplace, because when you look at other small business accounting software programs, you typically do not see anywhere near this level of detail in the security area. Now, typically what you'll see is either no security at all, meaning that everyone has the same access rights, or you'll have maybe 8, 10, 12 different very broad functional areas to which you can restrict access, which is a little bit better, but it still doesn't give you a tremendous degree of control over exactly what other users are allowed to see or do in the program. Now, with Sage 50, on the other hand, you can see here, yes, you have these different broad functional areas, but within each one of these functional areas, you have quite a long list of specific task areas. So you have approximately 100 of these task areas in Sage 50 to which you can give varying levels of access to a particular user, anything from full access to no access, and in many cases you can give intermediate levels of access such as view only or add or edit. So it gives you a great degree of flexibility, and while it's not down to the field level, meaning you can't restrict access to individual fields as you can with some much larger, much more expensive accounting programs, you can get pretty detailed. I mean, you've got, as I say, approximately 100 areas here that you can get very specific as to what you want to allow people to see or to do on that particular screen. So this is another area in which we offer something that's quite an exceptional value for the money. Now, what I'd like to do next is put up a poll just to get a feel from the folks that are attending today, what type of confidence level you have in the accuracy of your books. And I'm going to put this question up on the screen. You'll see that appear here in just a second. And I'd like everyone to just check the answer that applies to you, and I'll display the results here in just a moment. But we've got everything from perfect confidence, squeaky clean, all the way down to needs improvement or don't know. And I know that with either depending on what accounting system you're using, or maybe if you're even doing you're not using an automated accounting software system and you may be just using Excel or a manual ledger system, that people don't always have the greatest confidence in their numbers, especially if it's a manual system and it's quite a bit of effort to get an accurate picture of where you stand financially. And oftentimes, if it's being done manually or it's an intensively or labor-intensive process, it's not done very often. It may be done once a quarter or semi-annually or even annually. So I'm going to close this poll, and it looks like about 50% of you are saying that you have good confidence, which is great, and the rest are fair or less, which is not really surprising. I have to say that, in talking with small business owners, as I do on a regular basis, that a lot of them are using either very basic manual type systems or spreadsheets, and that doesn't lend itself to a great degree of confidence unless you have just recently done an analysis of your financials. So a system like this can go a long way toward increasing that level of confidence and also allowing you to monitor your own progress and your own status on a very frequent basis as opposed to once every few weeks or even months. So coming back to the main screen here, I'd like to next focus on another area that we feel is quite exceptional in this price level, which is our cash flow analysis tool that's built into Sage 50. Now, I've clicked on this cash flow manager, and the first thing you see here is a little informational screen explaining how this works. I'm just going to close this for now because I'm going to show you how it works. But what you have here is a very nice cash flow management tool that allows you to make projections based upon your expected incoming cash, expected outgoing cash, and your starting cash. And at the bottom of the screen, you see you have a graphical representation of your cash balance and as well as your incoming and outgoing cash. Periodically, depending on what time horizon you select at the top of the screen here. And you can see that the horizon you can select ranges from 1 week or 7 days all the way up to 12 months. And depending on how you, which time frame you select, you're going to get a projection based upon what you have on each one of these tabs, which represent your incoming, expected incoming cash and your expected outgoing cash. Now, of course, there are quite a few different ways in which you could do this analysis, and you might want to change that. Those options are set on the cash flow settings option tab here, which will give you the ability to select the specific types of transactions you want to include in the analysis, whether you want to do the analysis based on open transactions or historical transactions. You can choose whether or not you want to see or show in the analysis purchases or invoices that are more than 30 days overdue. And you can even use either the transaction due date or average days to pay for purposes of the analysis. So you've got a lot of flexibility here to tailor this analysis, cash flow analysis, to your specific needs and avoid any cash shortages, or at least anticipate them, so that you don't get yourself into a cash flow crisis because you're constantly looking forward and using your actual transactions that you have in the system to make that projection. So this, as I say, can be a very useful tool. It's typically not included in an entry-level accounting system, certainly not in a system in this price range that Sage 50 is in. And you also have the ability to export this analysis, by the way, to Excel very quickly and easily just by clicking on this Excel button, which will launch your Microsoft Excel application and export that data, excuse me, into a Microsoft Excel workbook with various tabs so that you can do whatever type of data analysis you'd like to do in Excel, including creating charts and graphs of your own design very quickly and easily. And you can see that here, you're literally looking at a Microsoft Excel 2010 workbook, And it's as simple as that. I just clicked on that Excel button and exported that right out. You also can run a variety of Sage 50 reports based on dealing with this information here. And you can also attach files or even multiple files of any type to your cash flow analysis if you'd like to have supporting data. For example, graphs, charts, JPEG files, Excel spreadsheets, really PDF files, any type of file you'd like, you can attach and reference later. So that's the cash flow, cash flow manager, which again is something that is extremely useful in many situations and usually is not supplied or included with a small business accounting system. Other Microsoft applications, Office applications that we interface with, Sage 50 interfaces with, include Microsoft Outlook, where you can synchronize your customer, your vendor, and your employee databases with Microsoft Outlook so that you have folders created in Outlook for each of those groups of contacts. So you have all your customers, all your vendors, and all your employees, if you wish, synchronized between Sage 50 and Outlook. So if you want to send out email messages or schedule things on your calendar in Outlook pertaining to those three groups of contacts, you can do that very easily. Also, we have the ability with any of the reports in Sage 50, whether it's a report on your aged receivables or a financial statement, and I'll pull up an income statement just to use as an example here, that same capability exists with Excel, that you can just click on that Excel button and export that data from that report or financial statement into a spreadsheet and manipulate or do whatever type of analysis you want to do very quickly and easily in Excel. The other nice thing that the Sage 50 system does for you is with Outlook, you have the ability to email various different forms as well as any of the reports in the system to whomever you'd like. So for example, if you have a sales invoice, and I'll just pull one up here to use as an example, and let me just see if I can find, something that has more than one line item. If I expand this so you can see it a little better, and I click on this email button, what's going to happen is that an email will be generated using your default email program, which in my case happens to be Microsoft Outlook. And what's going to happen is that you will see here in just a second, the application will be launched, an email message will be generated, and what you will have is an attachment to that email in the form of a PDF file, which represents that particular form. In this case, it's an invoice, which you see here. This is the actual invoice in the format of a PDF file, or the report that you want to email. Now, in this case, since it was an invoice, it automatically, the system grabbed that customer email address from that customer record. But you can add any additional addresses to which you want to send this, and if it's in the case of a report, you can enter whatever email addresses you decide to send that to, and you can modify the information that is placed in the body of the message as well and add whatever you'd like. So it makes that process very quick and easy and operates with the Microsoft Office tools with which you are most likely already quite familiar. So that's another good advantage to the system that you, again, many of our competitive products out there do not interface anywhere near as smoothly with outside applications. Now, as far as reporting goes specifically, I'd like to get into that in a little more detail because this is another area in which Sage 50 gives you some very significant advantages. In Sage 50 Quantum, which is our top-level version of the product, you have approximately 140 standard reports and financial statements, which are all grouped into these categories that you see me clicking on over here on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, within each one of these categories is a list of standard reports, which each of which belong in that particular category, but these are just the standard reports. Each of these, and I should say every one of these reports and financial statements can be modified or customized to your particular needs. And that gives you a tremendous degree of flexibility. And it's very easy to customize any of these reports. What I'm going to do to illustrate this is pull up the standard aged receivables report in Sage 50, which is what you see here. And you'll notice that you can drag and adjust the column width, as I'm doing right here on the screen, very easily. You can, by the way, anytime you see your mouse pointer change to a magnifying glass, as you see here, that indicates you can double-click on that line item to pull up the detail that it represents, which in this case is an unpaid sales invoice. Now, you also have these two buttons at the top of the screen labeled Options and Columns. And if you click on the Options button, you get access to this window, which will, depending on the specific report you're viewing, allow you to run that report for various different time periods and date ranges. You will also, again, depending on the specific report you're viewing, have a list of various fields on which you can sort and or summarize that report. And you have another box labeled Select a Filter, which contains a list of fields on which you can filter that report. And filtering a report just means that you're restricting it to certain specific information. For example, let's say that you wanted to run an aged receivables report, but you only want to see certain selected customers on that report. You're not interested in seeing your entire customer database, which is what the system will do if you don't tell it otherwise. That's very easy to accomplish. Basically, all you do is click on the Options button, open this window, and in the filter box, select the field on which you want to filter the report, which in this case is the customer ID field. And when you do that, you're presented over here on the right with a list of your entire customer database. And I can scroll down in this window, and by clicking in these checkboxes next to the customer names, select only the customers in the list that I want to see on the report. And once I do that and click OK, that report is going to be restricted only to those selected customers, which is exactly what you see here. Now, it's also very easy to add additional fields or columns to any report or financial statement simply by clicking on this Columns button. When you do that, you get access to this window, and if you look at the table in this window under the column heading, you'll notice that there are several field names that already have check marks to the left-hand side under the Show column. Those are the fields that are already displayed on the standard version of the report up top here. However, if you scroll down in this table, you will notice that there is quite a large number, actually, of additional fields that you can very easily add to that report simply by clicking in these checkboxes to the left of the field names that you'd like to add. When you do that, the field name is highlighted in blue, and it can then be moved up or down in this table, which will change the order of the columns on the report. So you can rearrange these columns, including the fields that you're adding, in any way that you choose. Once you click OK, those fields will be added to the report, as you see here. And then, as I mentioned before, you can export this data into Excel simply by clicking on the Excel button. You can create a PDF file copy of this report by clicking on the PDF button. You can email the report. And you can also save the format that you've created. Once you're satisfied with the layout, all you need to do is click on the Save button, enter a name and a description, and from that point forward, that customized version of that report that you just created will be listed in the main report listing under the name that you just gave it, which is exactly what you see here. This is a customized report that I created a few days ago, and you can tell that that is, in fact, a customized report by the fact that not only by the name that I gave it, which is rather obvious, but also it has this little blue wrench icon to the left-hand side of the report title. That indicates that that is a customized report, as opposed to all the standard reports in the list, which just have this blank report icon or page icon to the left of the title. That indicates a standard report. Now, you can create as many customized versions of these standard reports as you would like, and you can add or delete those at will. You do not have to worry about accidentally deleting any of the standard reports because the system will not allow you to do that. But this gives you a tremendous degree of flexibility in terms of creating customized reports. One other, now this is, as it is, already gives you a tremendous and unusual degree of flexibility for a small business accounting software program. But that's only the beginning, because with Sage 50, you also have this tool called Sage Business Intelligence, which gives you the ability to create very customized reports using Microsoft Excel as a tool. And since most people are already very familiar with Microsoft Excel and how it works, this can be a tremendous advantage to you, because what I'm going to do here, just to show you an example of the types of things you can accomplish with this business intelligence tool, is I'm going to open up this dashboard analysis report. Now, this is just one of the reports that's included with the business intelligence tool, and it's asking me right now for parameters, and I'm just going to indicate that I'm going to use the standard budget and the time period that I want to review. And once I do that and click OK, you'll see that what's happening here is the business intelligence tool is extracting the data from Sage 50, and it is exporting that into a pre-formatted Microsoft Excel template. And you're going to see that come up on the screen here in just a moment. And this is the end result. Now, you can see here that we have quite a variety of disparate information on one report. We've got profit and loss information, top 5 expenses, top 5 customers, your top and bottom 5 items sold during this time period by dollar amount, and the percentage of each that represents. You've got charts and graphs here that are being driven by pivot tables in Microsoft Excel. And the beauty of this is really that since you're literally looking at Microsoft Excel here, and that's the end result as an Excel spreadsheet, you can modify any of this information any way you would like using your existing knowledge of Excel, including any of the charts and graphs by modifying the pivot tables or choosing to include or exclude whatever information you'd like. And once you've done that, you can save that report back to the Business Intelligence tool under a different name and have that available to you to run with live data at any time you want. So basically, instead of having, this is really good and extremely useful for people who are frequently exporting data into Excel and manipulating it, because this will save you a tremendous amount of time, because you've only got to do that operation once, save it under the name, and I can show you here, again, that alternate name that you create is going to appear in the business intelligence section, just like that customized report that I created in the accounts receivable area, but it'll appear here in the business intelligence section, and you can just click on that, and it automates the entire process. Now, just imagine the amount of time that it would take to format and configure this report if you had to do that every time you wanted to run it with monthly data, for example. This report alone makes that tremendously worthwhile, because that will save you an amazing amount of time and relieve you of having to run multiple individual reports to determine all that different information. So you get this with Sage 50 Quantum. This tool comes at no additional charge. If you are purchasing another version of Sage 50 Quantum, you get a 60-day free trial, and at the end of that period, if you would like to purchase the tool, you can purchase it for a one-time fee of $250. So it's really, again, a great value and something that none of our competitors offer. There's really nothing out there. This rivals the kind of reporting control and automation that you have with an enterprise-level system, quite frankly, because you can even automate when these reports are generated and cause them to be saved in various targeted folders where only certain of your users, which you determine, have access to that information. So it's really quite a powerful tool and something that you're only going to get with Sage 50. No need to manipulate the data except for the one time when you create that report, and you not only save time, you get your questions answered much faster. Now, I'd quickly also like to point out that in the area of reporting, we have with Sage 50 not only a comprehensive dashboard, which is this tab that I just clicked on here, showing you a wealth of information about your company all on one page. And by the way, if you click on the Customize button here on the dashboard, you'll notice that we have an extensive list here of 46 different items, each of which is essentially a miniature report. And each one of these can be displayed on this dashboard in any order that you choose, and I've selected these 7 just for illustration purposes in this particular example. But you have 46 of those items. You can include any or all of them on the dashboard. Each user in Sage 50 can also create their own tabs, each of which can contain whatever or display whatever panels they want to display. So you may have one user that creates 6, 7, 8 different tabs, each with different panels shown on those tabs, depending on what information they need at that time, or what they happen to be doing at that time of the week or that time of the month. So when that user logs into Sage 50, they will see only their configuration and only their tabs that they've created. They won't see anyone else's tabs, and everything will be in the order and laid out the way that they want to see it. So that's a very nice tool. Also, what we have connected to this dashboard functionality in Sage 50 Quantum is a feature that we call order process workflow. And this is really something that, again, is exclusive to Sage 50 and not something that you're going to find in any other entry-level accounting system, because what this does for you, and I'm going to illustrate this by just pulling up a sales invoice, but I'd like you to keep in mind that this can be any type of transaction in Sage 50. It doesn't need to necessarily be a sales invoice. We could be looking at a quotation or a purchase order or a payment, a credit memo, really any type of transaction. What this feature allows you to do is to, you'll notice that, let me back up just a moment here. When you open a transaction screen in Sage 50 Quantum, you will notice there's this little track it bar to the right-hand side of the screen. And when you click on that bar expands into a panel on which you have 3 fields labeled tracking status, assigned to, and notes. What this allows you to do is to create a series of user-defined tracking statuses which can then be assigned to any particular transaction. And since these are user-defined categories, these are just examples here that I'm using for illustration purposes in this sample company. But if you click on the setup option window here, you'll notice that over here on the left, I've selected sales invoicing. And over on the right, these are the 5 statuses that I've created for sales invoices. However, these are user-defined, so these are just examples. I could have created 10 or 15 or 20 different statuses, and I could name those statuses anything I want. And this is specific to the transaction type that you're looking at. So for example, if I click on sales orders, I have a completely different set of 5 statuses, or 6 statuses rather, for sales orders. If I click on purchase orders, I have a different set of 3 statuses for those. And so on and so forth for each of the different transaction types that you see listed here on the left-hand side. You can set this up however it makes sense for your particular business and keep track of the status of specific transactions in the system. You also can assign any specific user that you have set up in Sage 50 to a particular transaction. Now, this one I've assigned to Kim in accounts receivable, but, and I'll show you what that does in just a moment. It essentially brings that particular transaction to the attention of that user when they log in, and you can assign any transaction to any user. You also have this notes field into which you can place as many notes of up to 2,000 characters each as you wish. So you can see here I've entered a couple of notes here regarding collections. You may have other issues, specific transaction, I mean, all kinds of, any type of information you want to record here can be entered in the notes area. You may have had conversations with the customer or the vendor, or there may be other internal issues that have arisen with that particular transaction. And all of that can be recorded here. It's all listed in chronological order, time and date stamped with the name of the user that entered the information. And on the History tab, you even have a log, not only of every note that's been entered, but also every time that the transaction status is changed and every time that the person to whom this transaction is assigned is changed. All of that information is logged in chronological order on this History tab, time and date stamped with the name of the person that entered the information. And when you save that transaction, all of that information gets saved with it. So when any of your users log into Sage 50 Quantum, they can simply click on this dashboard, look at this inbox area, select the time period that they want to view, and in this example, I'm just using this quarter for illustration purposes. They will be presented with a list of every transaction that was assigned to them during that time period and what the current status of each one of those transactions is. And if they want to see the detail of any of these transactions, they just click on this detail link and it takes them directly there to that screen. So it's a very useful tool, and again, something that is typically found only in an enterprise level system, which is much more expensive than Sage 50. You also have this transaction tracking report functionality here in this panel that you see my mouse pointer on, which is labeled Transactions by Tracking Status. You've got 2 drop-down lists, one of which you use to select the transaction type, the other that you select the time frame you want to look at, and you get a breakdown in the form of a pie chart as well as a table showing you how many transactions of that type are in each of the status categories that you set up. So you can see in this example I have 3 sales invoices in the in collection status for this quarter. And if I want to see a report of that, I just click on that line item and immediately I have a report generated showing me the 3 transactions that are in that particular status, and if I want to see more detail, I just double-click on that particular line item, and it pulls up the detail for me. So again, great tool, something that you're typically not going to see in this price category, and something that Sage 50 offers you that you're not going to find anywhere else. Finally, what I'd like to do is give you, actually, a couple more things. I'd like to launch one other poll here, which has to do with connected services, what we call Sage Connected Services. What these are, essentially, are services that, and you can see on the screen here, add to the functionality of Sage 50. And these are all subscription services, and I'd like you can choose as many of these as you would like. What these do is extend the functionality of the system. But the beauty of these subscription services is that they do not change the operation of the system in any way from the user standpoint. So if you already understand, for example, how to enter and process payroll, if you decide to subscribe to our payroll processing service, which will actually cut the checks for you and mail them out, or do the direct deposit if you elect to subscribe to the direct deposit service, the way that that's done within the program is exactly the same. It doesn't change anything, and I'll show you that in just a moment here. But it looks like I'm getting some, it looks like just about everyone wants to accept credit card payments from customers. About half of the people want to use direct deposit, and looks like online bill pay is the next most popular option. Let me just close this down for the time being here and come back to the main screen and illustrate what I'm talking about. If, for example, let's go into the payroll area of Sage 50. If I'm running payroll and I select enter payroll for multiple employees, what this is going to do is the system will generate a payroll check for this particular pay period for each employee in the system. And you can drill down on any one of these and see the individual withholding amounts for that particular payroll check, and you can modify any of these amounts very easily just by selecting that field and entering the figure that you'd like to modify. Now, what you would normally do to generate after you're satisfied that the figures are correct, and you can do that, by the way, either by previewing each check on the screen or running a report and sending it to the printer. You then just click on the print icon and the system generates those payroll checks. However, if you're using our direct deposit service and you subscribe to that, you do exactly the same thing, but instead of the system generating a payroll check, it makes logs into your bank account over the internet and makes that transfer directly into your employees' checking accounts or whatever accounts that they've designated automatically, and generates a deposit advice or receipt for you and for the employee. So it doesn't change how you use the program at all, but it adds, makes your life easier, it lightens your workload, and extends the functionality of the Sage 50 system. The same thing goes for accepting credit card payments and online backup and online bill pay as well. It doesn't change the operation of the system or how you would navigate to that particular function. It just adds to the functionality. So your account manager, if you call in, and I'm anticipating that many of you have a lot of additional questions, and that's expected, and what I'd like to do actually is just move over here back to the closing slide where we've got an 800 number. And I'd like to encourage all of you to call us with any questions that you have about Sage 50, and you will be connected directly with one of our account managers who will be more than happy to go over the pricing with you, answer additional questions about any of our connected services, and in addition, set up, if you like, a one-on-one personalized demo where I can spend a full hour with you one-on-one discussing your specific needs and how Sage 50 can benefit you in your business. You can ask me any questions you like, and I can show you right on the screen exactly how the system will address those needs. Now, as far as support, I would like to also mention that all of our technical support folks, all our resources are located right here in this building in Lawrenceville, Georgia. We don't outsource any of our tech support staff, which, again, is very unusual, particularly for small business accounting software, because very frequently what you'll find is that they have outsourced their technical support staff overseas. Very often you'll be connected to someone who may be reading from a script and is not particularly familiar with the product, and that can be very frustrating. You will not run into that with Sage 50 because our entire staff is, as I say, located right here in this building domestically. They are available from Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you have a support contract with us, you can access those folks as much as you need during those hours. And they will be more than happy to show you anything you have questions about, to explain how to use the product. And it's not just limited to technical issues. I mean, if you have a question of how do I enter a sales order or a quotation into the system, or how do I process payroll, they'll be more than happy to walk you through the process, take as much time as you need, and with your permission, they can even log into your PC over the internet and show you how to do things. So it's a great resource. We also have pay-per-call support and monthly support contracts if you feel that you're not going to need a tremendous amount of support. And those are also available, and your account rep will be more than happy to set that, or to explain those options to you along with the pricing. So in closing, I'd just like to thank everyone for attending today. We are very appreciative of your interest in Sage 50 and certainly hope to earn your business, and we look forward to talking with you in the near future. So feel free to call us at this number, and I look forward to speaking with you in the near future. Thank you, and have a great day.